All right, we're back here, SportsLine on News Channel 5+. Steve Layman with you here tonight. Talked a lot about the championship games from the weekend. Bengals beating the Chiefs in overtime, rallying back from 18 down. By the way, talking about blowing the opportunity, imagine being in Kansas City today and thinking about what they feel like they lost. Number one, they blew an 18-point lead in the AFC Championship at home. So they just missed the immediate opportunity to win another AFC Championship and get to the Super Bowl for the third time in a row. They'd just be the fourth team ever to do that. So they missed that opportunity first and foremost. Number two, they are now, since home field advantage has been established in the NFL in 1975 in the playoffs, there are two teams ever to have blown an 18-point game at home in the playoffs. They're both the Chiefs. There's yesterday, and there's the Titans game in 2017 when Marcus Mariota led that comeback. So the Chiefs have dealt with these second-half disappointments in the playoffs, which has got to be incredibly frustrating. But more than anything, since Patrick Mahomes took over, because remember, that was Alex Smith in 2017. When they drafted Patrick Mahomes and went to him, and he's winning the MVP, and he won a Super Bowl and all of that was figured to be left in the past. This was Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes' ship now, and the Chiefs were just at that elite level. And everybody thought that it's the Chiefs dynasty, right? Well, think about this 4-year run. They've been really, really good. A lot of teams would be envious of what they've done. I get that. But think about this. They were the number one seed in the AFC in the first year. They had home field advantage in the playoffs, and they lose in overtime to Tom Brady and the Patriots, who go on to win the Super Bowl. Missed opportunity there. The next year, they go on and win the Super Bowl. Last year, they get back to the Super Bowl, and they're heavy favorites, and they lose to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Still Brady, but different team. So they lose the opportunity to go back-to-back. And now this year, they're sitting there in that position again, where because the Titans lost, they've got the AFC Championship game on their home field again. They're facing a team that nobody really thinks has much of a shot in the Bengals. They're up by 18, and they can't pull it out. They lose again. So for as great as they've been, and as jaw-dropping as the numbers are for Patrick Mahomes in that offense, the Chiefs walk away from this 4-year stretch with just one Super Bowl. It's not a dynasty. It's a really, really good team. But it's not a dynasty. Not in this NFL, not right now. And does the criticism creep back in here at any point for Andy Reid? Remember, when he went to Kansas City, and even after the first couple of years, including that loss to the Titans in 2017, Reid was known as one of the winningest coaches in the regular season in the history of the NFL, but a guy that had an abysmal postseason record. Seemed like he got there all the time, but didn't always deliver in the postseason. He had a Super Bowl loss with the Eagles, but most of the time it was early round flameouts. And then it followed with a couple more flameouts in Kansas City. And then that AFC Championship game loss, and then finally they break through. Well, when you get to the AFC Championship game and then you win a Super Bowl and then you get back and lose into the Super Bowl, well, that kind of disappears. It's clear that it's obvious that Andy Reid is a good coach. It's obvious that he can win in the playoffs. He continues to win in the playoffs. But it's a little bit like talking about quarterbacks. There's a difference between being really, really good. There's even a difference between being able to get to the Super Bowl and consistently living up to the expectation of winning the Super Bowl. And Andy Reid's had that expectation, and he's had the team to do it, potentially. But they've won it just once in this time. And I just wonder, if you're in Kansas City or around the NFL, if that criticism starts to creep back for all the wins, the winningest record and winning percentage in the regular season that Andy Reid has, there's just one Super Bowl. Just one. And I think that is going to be something that people are going to have to reconcile with this Chiefs team. And look, Patrick Mahomes is young. They got a lot of weapons. But his contract is going to make it more and more difficult to keep guys that they need to keep, to build up the defense in the way that they need to build it up. This was their best window. It's not to say that they can't do it next year, or the year after, or in future years, because Mahomes is going to be there for a while, and he's not going to disappear as one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. He's going to continue to put up MVP-type numbers, and you got to think the Chiefs are going to be a factor for a long time to come. But they were in their window here, and people were already proclaiming them as champions, that they were a dynasty, that they were the next Patriots. And that just simply hasn't come to fruition. And now you look around, there's some other teams that are on their heels. People talked about the Bills, and they've had some epics in the playoffs the last couple of years. Can the Bills get home field advantage and turn that around on them at some point? Because I think Josh Allen's ready to take that next step. And clearly, from what we saw yesterday, Joe Burrow's in that category as well. And now the Bengals, who had the worst record in the NFL just 2 seasons ago, now they're in the Super Bowl. And really the only thing that changed is the fact that they got themselves a quarterback, that they got Joe Burrow. I think the Bengals are only going to get better. With Zach Taylor at the helm and Joe Burrow barking out the signals, I think they're going to be a factor for a long, long time to come. So that's what you look at in the NFL right now. And that's what you look at in the AFC and in that picture. And obviously the Titans are going to have to deal with all of those quarterbacks. And they're going to have to deal with their own quarterback and what they believe in Ryan Tannehill moving forward. And
since becoming the Titans starter midway through the 2019 season,
is with Tannehill, they're going to have to think about this is I fully expect him to come back next year and have a good season. I think he's going to be motivated. I think he's going to understand what happened this year. He's going to be in year 2 with Todd Downing as his play caller. I think Tannehill's going to come back and have a really good season next year. Not to mention the fact that it's almost a guarantee that the Titans won't have to deal with the same number of injuries to key guys offensively that they did this year. You know, Derrick Henry missed 9 games this year. Julio Jones missed 7. A.J. Brown missed 4. Chances are their best players are going to be healthier than that next year. So I fully expect Ryan Tannehill to have a bounce-back regular season and for this offense to be much better next year. But even when that happens, when they get into the playoffs, he's going to have to prove it to himself, to his teammates, to the staff, to the fans, to everybody that he is ready to win in the postseason. And at this point, unfortunately for the Titans, it is a see it to have to believe it type of thing. Back to close things up after this.